Hey, y'all. Welcome to season 2 of the Reckless Optimist podcast. I'm so glad that you're here. This is a show about hope, strength, perseverance, and resilience. Let's get into it. Hey, everyone. Today on the podcast, we have Dylan. Dylan is a super awesome guy. He will celebrate 2 years sober in August. He is an ultra runner, just a really badass endurance athlete, tackling some serious goals. He will be running the Cocodona 250 miler in May. Tonight, he shares his story. It is a beautiful, transformative story. He went through a lot in his childhood. He lost his mother very young, and he has really come through and turned his pain into purpose. And he is super inspirational. I know you guys are going to love this story. Let's get into it. Hey, everyone. Help me welcome Dylan to the podcast.
How's it going, everybody?
I'm so excited that you're here. We were just talking before we jumped on that me and you are both going to be at the Cocodona 250 miler in just a few months. 2 months? 3?
Yeah, about 2 months. Yeah, I think we're about 9.5 weeks out.
Yeah. How's training going?
It's good. I just came off 100. So I ran 100 last weekend. So this week is, recovery, stuff like that. I ran a 5 mile today. So we're getting back on. The training block will start pretty much this following week.
Which 100 did you do?
It was called the Run Love It 100 outside of Hot Springs, Arkansas. It was about 50 miles of unique trail, 35 mile out and back, and then a 15 mile out and back. I think we covered 15,000 feet of gain. It was honestly almost the exact amount of gain you'd get in the Cocodona 250 because it's 40. So if I do 15,000 times 200, that's 30,000. Then another 50, we're at like 37, right? So it's really close to exactly what we're going to get out there.
Wow, that's crazy. So I will be out there as a pacer for my friend K-Mac, who's running the 250. She ran the 125 last year. Do you have a whole pacing group and team as well?
I have a crew and like 2 tentative pacers right now. We'll see. I've never had pacers. And I remember like thinking in this last one at 70 miles, like if I was to have a pacer, I wouldn't even want to talk to him. So we'll see if I enjoy having pace or not. I haven't really had it before, but I am a talker. Like I like to have fun out there and encourage others and stuff like that. Help with navigation is probably going to be really nice if that's possible. If not, like I'm somewhat of an individual runner as well, and I like to enjoy the experience by myself and with God. So we'll see. If I have pacers, it's great. If I don't, I'll be fine.
Yeah. Yeah. My 100-mile race that I ran, I don't think I could have done it without the pacers. Number one, because I would have gotten lost and I was bored. And I was hallucinating. So yeah, I needed the pacer personally.
Yeah, I haven't really hit a ton of hallucinations yet. So maybe I'll need somebody. I don't know. But I like I said, I like enjoying where I'm at and being grateful. I don't get bored. My mind, it never stops. So the boring aspect of things for some reason just has not occurred for me. I've done 1 mile looped races for 24 hours and I don't get bored. I like to just really be grateful for the experience a lot of the time.
Yeah. I know what you mean. I actually love the looped courses. One, because it's easy to follow, right? I can't get lost. I don't know. Some people can't do that. Some people can't swing back by the start, but I like thrive on that a little bit.
Yeah, having an aid station, like whatever distance the loop is, like how far away your aid is and what you need and stuff like that. People struggle with like being like, it's so easy to drop, right? Because it's just right there. If you have a 15-mile section, you complete it in like a point-to-point race. It's like, okay, I just got to get to the next section, and when you have a loop, it's always there, tempting you to stop. So I think that's probably where some people could struggle.
Yeah. Yeah, that makes sense. Well, we are going to get our episode started out with a quote like we do each time. And the quote for your episode is by David Miller, who is also a sober ultra runner, and he is the guest on the podcast this week. So I always share his memes and quotes to my page, and I really liked this one. The quote goes, "There's a heavy correlation between people who've been through hell and those who choose suffering on purpose, endurance sports, impossible goals, extreme careers. Once you've survived the worst, you learn to feed off of it. You get high on proving again and again that you are the one. It's hard to understand this kind of determination if the world has never brought you to your knees." What does that mean to you?
Yeah, really, really strong, especially at the end there. You're talking about determination and being brought to your knees and essentially what it's like to bounce back and then how you thrive off of that. And it's so true. What does this mean to me from my faith, my fitness, and my sobriety at a young age? I lost my mom in adolescence. You could say that I feel like that may have been one of these unchosen sufferings that David's kind of explaining here. Chosen or unchosen, the sufferings are what shape us. And it depends on how you can react to those things. And I think for a long time, the unchosen suffering made me choose a different type of suffering, drinking, or I call it suffering now, or coping, other people may call it, or escaping reality. When you choose an unhealthy suffering, it can lead you down a really tough path. And what he's talking about is choosing the healthy suffering. And that's what we do in ultra running. That's what you see power lifters do. That's what you see professional athletes do. Some of them coming from the worst circumstances of unchosen suffering and then going into a healthy suffering that then develops them into something incredible, and even if that's not being famous or something like me or yourself, Megan, like we may consider what we do, people think it's incredible, regardless of us being these popular athletes or something like that, it is incredible. And we have to choose the suffering over and over again. And we're driven by, in my opinion, the unchosen suffering, where he says here, getting the high by proving it again and again. I literally told my girlfriend about this just a couple days ago, of how like we're always chasing that thing. And when I'm chasing the thing, I feel at home. I'm at home when I'm doing that. When it starts to get hard, that's exactly where I want to be, And when I don't have a goal or I don't feel like I'm chasing my purpose, that's when I'm lost. That's when I'm the most lost. It's like, oh, what do I do if I'm not in a training block? And sometimes like you have to learn how to recover correctly and things like that, not to fall off the wagon, because every single moment, minute, day has purpose for you to reach whatever your goals are. And for us, it's running, 250 miles in May or something like that. But it could be just walk a mile today, and I tell people small wins, stack the small wins, but chasing that thing, it drives us, and finding your purpose. Always feel bad for people when I ask them the question, what is your purpose? And they don't know the answer to that question. And it's like, once you find that, your life will become so much more whole, and you'll do exactly what David's talking about here. You'll chase that high because you feel it, or you at least believe what God's purpose is for you. In my opinion, my faith is what drives me as well. So chasing it, thriving on it. And then, like he says, hard to understand this determination if the world's never brought you to your knees. And when it gets hard, reflecting on the things that have brought you to your knees. And usually it's the unchosen things that you've gone through in your life. Like I said, losing my biological mother or one of my friends in the military. These are things I always call back to when the chosen suffering gets hard. It's like, if I got through that, running 30 more miles is nothing compared to that pain I felt for years and still do at times. So I know that I can use that to push through and really accomplish the things that I want to accomplish.
Yeah, yeah. Wow, you interpreted that so well. So good. When I hear this quote, in a weird, like twisted way, it makes me thankful for the suffering that I went through, thankful for the addiction, and a lot of the suffering I have gone through, I don't openly talk about. I think to speak to what you were talking about, and David talked about this on my episode with him, but like when you're at mile 80 in your 100, 250-mile race, if you've never been like on your knees begging for your life, I don't know that you can get through that type of hard thing unless you've been there before, Does that make sense?
Definitely,
Yeah.
definitely. And we just call back to those moments like the unchosen suffering, and I read a book by Tom Ryan, a famous wrestler, like college wrestler and a college wrestling coach. And he has a book called Chosen Suffering, and how the unchosen suffering drives us into the chosen suffering. And if you never choose to suffer on your own, then the unchosen suffering, it swallows you up and you may never make it out, and that's where us as former addicts, where we know how close we were to not making it out, and then
Yeah.
something happened and we like I said, I think, the Lord spoke to me and pulled me out, right? But even if you don't have a spiritual connection, you pulled yourself out of there, and that's incredible in its own as well. And you have to be able to do that. So many people, they don't make it there. My mother didn't make it there. And so, you're able to call back and just like, I can do it. I can do it.
Yeah. Yeah. And then the last thing I'll say about the quote before we get into your story is that the other thing that hit me that came up was when I was in active addiction, I had so much like guilt and shame that it literally felt like I was drowning. Like I had no confidence in myself. And these races, these endurance events, and these career goals, like it accumulate so much confidence. And like it is a way for me to naturally build confidence in myself because I don't ever want to feel like that girl who couldn't even make it through the day, you know?
Yeah, absolutely. And you're a fast one too. You're a quick runner. I need to like work on being as fast as you. I see your splits and I'm like, dang man, she is moving out there. I ran like sub 8, 5 mile today and I felt fast, and
That
sub
is
8 minute
fast.
miles. Yeah, it's not bad. It's not bad. But you'll crush like a 34 or something like that.
Well, it's funny. I've been a slow runner and I've been a fast runner. I've been all over the field. It's intoxicating to me to try to get as fast as I can. Probably because what we were talking about before we jumped on is that I feel like my time is numbered. I'm 41 and I know that speed eventually goes away with age to a degree, but we're going to push it as far as we can go.
Yeah, I'm 31, so you're telling me I got a lot of time to get fast, right?
Yeah.
I can still get because I'm a distant like I'm trying to obviously with Cocodona 250, like I'm pushing distance thresholds a little bit more than speed thresholds right now. At least that's what the training is navigated to. But like running a sub 3 hour marathon, as terrible as it sounds, I hate the idea of it. I really do. How much pain that, but I will probably try to do it someday. Like it'll probably it feels like in running, we have so many different goals. And that's what makes running so much fun is like you can chase the long distance, you can chase the short distance, you can chase speed. You don't have to if you don't want to. You could chill at a party pace. You know what I mean? Like
Right.
do whatever you want. And I really love that about running.
Yeah. I have this friend, shout out to Rick Lee if he's listening. He is a master's phenomenal athlete. He is about to turn 65 and he runs like a sub 5 minute mile. Like he is so fast. And like he's what I want. I want to be him. Like I want that. I want the longevity. That's what I'm after.
Yeah, people tell us always too that we're like breaking down our bodies doing that. And then you like give an example of somebody like that. And it's like, hey, let me just show you this guy.
This
You
guy.
know what I
Yeah.
mean? Like, oh, well, he's an outlier. It's like, no, no, no. There's probably 100 of them. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? And like,
Yeah.
you just have to put in the work and continue to put in the work. So
Yeah.
that's awesome though.
Yeah. Well, we're super excited to hear your story. So wherever you feel comfortable, just take us back.
Yeah, born and raised in California. I live in Tennessee now. I'm 31, like I said. I moved around California a lot. My dad was a correctional officer or a prison guard. Somebody know that more as. So we moved different places quite a bit growing up. As I grew up, I was this big sport. I was an athlete, wrestling, baseball. I played a little bit of basketball. I was into everything though, a statistician too. I'm a big stats guy and I always have been, even as a kid, waking up, knowing player stats, things like that. It always intrigued me. As I grew older, I started to notice, my parents' marriage falling apart. And at an 8, 9, 10 years old, like you just see upsetness. You don't really know that things are ever going to end, or you don't really believe that things are ever going to end. And it's just tough right now. And I think that in those moments, I was always scared that something I was doing was wrong. I remember that. Like I think my sister as well, and she's 20 months younger than me. So as an older brother, it's like I need to protect her. So I felt like my feelings, and I felt like I was affecting my parents' marriage somehow. So like my feelings were always buried within me. I felt like, especially in that young age, and my mother had overdosed a few times while it was just us kids at the house. So like calling 911 at 9 years old is a crazy thing, but like it occurred more than once, and things like taking us to school at 7:30 in the morning, and she was so drunk she's like driving off the side of our driveway, and I have to get out of the car and like run up to the house and call my grandpa and to, hey, you got to come get us. My mom's chasing after us, and like so. Like I said, I laugh a little bit nervously. Probably it's just because it's almost unbelievable to think like if I was to witness another 9-year-old or 10-year-old like going through that, I'd be like, oh my gosh, these children need saved, and that was me at one point. And so I saw addiction at a young age. We grew through that. My parents divorced. My father had a lot of animosity towards my mother. Of course, her addiction split our family apart. Like I said, as much, however he handled it, I don't think it was wrong just because that is such a hard situation for him, for us, for everybody. We had 80/20 custody. So I saw my mom every other weekend. And it just, after about a year, she was kind of bailing on seeing us. And I remember one of the last times I saw her, she had another overdose with her boyfriend and like urinated her pants in the kitchen. I think I was about 10 or 11. I remember just being in the front yard yelling as the ambulance is coming by, like, waving them into the right area. And that was one of the last times I saw her. And a few months later, it was my sister's birthday and we were supposed to go out. She canceled. couldn't make it. And then we didn't hear from her for 2 years. And so you kind of, at that age, you kind of just go about your life. You're 12 years old. She's out there doing something and, she'll come back maybe. But, we got to focus on what we have here. I get a stepmother into my life that's been incredible, two stepbrothers, and they're awesome. And everybody, that whole piece of that family is still alive now. And then I was in, I think, my sophomore year of high school, and we received a call that she was in the hospital and had overdosed and had to go in there. We had found out that she was 100% brain dead. And I was, I think, 15 at this time. And you understand enough to know that that means that life is over, although everything is still operating, everything is still there, the body is functioning. And so that's where I think that this unchosen suffering started, and I had no place to handle this. Like I wrestled and I did things like, for my mom, and tried to find faith in a small country town in Sonora, California. A lot of us people there just, live by the faith as just a small little mountain city over there, about 40 minutes down the hill from Yosemite National Park. So beautiful area. And that's where I found faith initially, leaned on that, leaned on my friends, leaned into my family. And as I grew up, and I decided to go into the military, the Army, and I was leaving just 6 months after my high school graduation. So I thought at 18 years old, I needed to go get closure in some way. My mother was left on life support this entire time. So we're talking roughly 3 years. She's in a state facility. People that haven't been in these state facilities that are holding people in this condition, it is rough, and it's underfunded. It's the people there are desensitized to their patients, we may say, just because this is what they're seeing every day. Essentially, these nurses are given the task of cleaning human beings that are no longer have life, but organs are functioning because machines are doing the work for them. So we see her, she's, I don't know, 50 pounds, and this was the time that I was able to say goodbye. And I think at 18, you think that, okay, like I'm an adult and I'm going to be able to get over this now. And I don't think that that's how that worked. It was a good thing to do, but I still had a lot of healing to do mentally. Didn't know where to address that. There was no counseling that ever occurred or anything like that. I don't even think I knew what a therapist was in any way besides like, oh, you're crazy, you have to go to a therapist. And so it had a negative connotation, which is something so different now in 2026 compared to then, which is 2012, is, how open people are with therapy and how great the mental health system could always get better. But compared to 2012, we're doing way better now with awareness at a minimum and urging people to do this. Anyways, so I joined the military. I move around, do that for about 8 years. I lose the faith on my deployment, my faith in Christ on my deployment in Iraq in 2015. I think that for a few different reasons. And actually, I started reading the Bible and I read through the Old Testament only, and this stuff seemed so phony to me. And it's like, this can't be believed that somebody can split a sea or that somebody can live to be 900 years old, right? Because if you don't understand the covenant and you don't read everything, you can't understand how this stuff works at that point. And then while I'm reading this stuff that seems fake to me, I'm also in a third world country that is, even without the war, we didn't see a ton of combative action or anything like that. But seeing a third world country will put your mind in a perspective that like the world is very hard, much harder than you thought it was. While I'm not believing because of the word itself, now I'm seeing things that definitely seem ungodly to me and that I can't understand at 21 years old, being in Iraq, serving a war that's also questionable. All these things are happening. And so I lose the faith there, return home, and that's probably when the drinking starts. I started drinking when I was 14, just socially at parties. And I think the first time with my father, it's like, oh, we're camping, you can have a beer. And that's kind of where a lot of the country kids start drinking. It's a safe place. We're out camping, have a couple beers, and, get into high school partying, stuff like that. Into the military, obviously, I mean, we're going hard almost all the time, work hard, play hard mindset in the Army. And when I come back, I'm 21, I'm drinking fairly heavily, even while in the military, even doing some I would say soft drugs. I'm not abusing these things or buying these things, but if somebody has it and they offers it, I was never somebody to really turn it down. Moving it through the military, that's kind of how life was. You partied hard. People knew me as a partier. We like to go out, we drink, we have a good time. And I think that this is where growing up and all these things that I talked about in my childhood, they just never got addressed. Not mentally. There was no place for this to get addressed. There just wasn't. You know, you're forced to do physical like activity. I go to the gym every day. I think I'm healthy, you know, mentally and physically. Sure, I look physically healthy. Mentally, I'm putting on a smile. I'm partying. That's another misconception is people think that the partiers are happy people. You know, it's like, oh, he's the party guy. He must be loving life. And in reality, you're waking up every morning with a ton of regrets, trying to figure out what happened last night, who you were, what you said, if your friendships are still intact. I get out of the military in 2021 after 8.5 years, and I did incredible things in the military, different endurance events. I was looked at as a good leader. Got out as a staff sergeant, just wanting to pursue different things. I wanted to be a Green Beret in the Army, and I hurt my back twice training for that. And so when I lost that route, or I felt like I'd lost that route, I was kind of checked out on the military. I was like, it's time for me to move on. I'm 26. I can make something new of my life. We're still young. That's what I do. I get out, kind of start going to school. And this is where I think all of the past stuff started to come into my mind. And like, I am having a hard time coping because I don't have all these people to talk to anymore. I'm not leading soldiers, which gives you purpose. And so this is where when I had a purpose in the Army kind of given to me responsibilities, now I feel like I have no purpose. Where do I go from here? I'm just collecting money to go to school and on some VA disability, and I'm just like lounging around the house. I was going to a local bar. I was drinking there every night, closing it down. Me and the regulars, they'll close the bar, but then we'll stay and play shuffleboard till 5 in the morning, come home, wake up at 11 a.m., go to the gym, maybe do some homework. Like this was my flow of life for probably about a year or so, just really, really floating through. And definitely not handling anything. I went through a breakup that like was my fault just because I was not a good person. And then I had a friend move in, great guy, one of my best friends I was in the Army with. He was living with me. He was kind of partying a little bit. We were hanging out. I got a job. So things were kind of working in the right direction. And in April 2022, he gets in a motorcycle accident at night. And one of my best friends now passed away, you know, and this is where things turned a lot in a bad direction. I coped only with alcohol. I spoke at both of his funerals drunk, not belligerent, but not respectfully, I wouldn't say, because I thought that I needed it, the alcohol, to get through the suffering, the feelings that I was having, the misunderstanding of why anything was going on the way that it was. And this went on for probably another year. And then in February 2023, I forget who recommended the book Can't Hurt Me from David Goggins, right? It's so funny how many people, David Goggins, love him or hate him. That guy's influenced people to be great, you know? And so I start reading that book, and his story is incredible to start with, but he mentions the challenge, the 4x4x48, where you run, if you guys are unfamiliar, you run 4 miles every 4 hours for 48 hours. So a total of 48 miles in 48 hours. Plenty of time to do the mileage. It's more of a mental feat to continue to do it over and over again, trying to find rest, eat, things like that. We were supposed to do it, my friend, my buddy Alex White, and then a couple others while we were in the Army in Korea in 2020. We weren't able to because COVID restrictions didn't allow us to do physical activities together. So we didn't get to do it. But now I'm in this book. My buddy, it's almost been a year since he passed away. This seemed like a calling for me to complete this challenge for him. So I'm like, okay, his anniversary of his death is in April. Easter weekend gives you the time to do it for 2 days. And I have 2 months to train up. I haven't ran in 2 years since I got out of the Army. This challenge comes across. It's like run 50 miles in a month. And so I run 50 miles in a week, just pretty much off the couch. And that was hard, but doable. And at this point is when a lot of us, when we start running, we're running from a lot. And we're not running for the right reasons. We like what it's doing for us, but we're really running away from a lot of stuff, and we're not dealing with the things that we should be dealing with. So I'm running, I'm drinking, I'm training, but I'm getting healthier, right? And I've talked about this before, that when I started running, I kept drinking because I'm like, oh, well, I'm healthy because I'm running. I'm even healthier now. I could even drink more if I wanted to, because I'm healthier than I was. Play hard, work hard mindset. We complete the 4x4 by 48. I get hooked on running. Like I just loved the pain, the chosen suffering that David Miller's quote talks about. That challenge was the first time that really I felt it. And I ran a half marathon the month before. It was my first half marathon. And then I find a documentary preview, a trailer for this documentary called Just 1 Mile. So there's a race out here in Middle Tennessee called the Mid-State Mile. It's a 1.1 mile loop, 350 feet of elevation gain and loss in the loop. You have 20 minutes to complete it. It's last man standing format. So you do the loop whatever time you want. You start again every 20 minutes. You go until you're either the last one or you quit. So this was my next goal. I've essentially been running since February. It's June now. I put down 50 miles out there. And the night before this race, I give my life to Christ after listening to Chad Wright's podcast. I don't know if you're familiar with the 3 of 7 podcast. Chad Wright, an ex-Navy SEAL, another polarizing figure, David Goggins-esque. I would say instead of like the in-your-face motivation, Chad is in-your-face faith is what I would say. A very faith forward, but a great guy, a great message. He drove me into the faith. I run the Mid-State Mile. 50 miles was a great accomplishment for me on a tough course, and I was hooked. The community had me hooked. The people had me hooked. The gratefulness of experiencing the suffering had me hooked, and that's where my ultra journey started. That was June 2023, and I remember before then I had read about 100-milers and thought that that's years away, and you got to train a long time for that. And then I get invited to a 24-hour 1-mile loop. It's like an hour from me in July. I'm like, okay, 24 hours. Can I do 100 miles? And that was the only goal, 1-mile loop. And I treated it like mid-state. Run 1 or 2 miles, sit down, drink, eat, rest, do it again, stay on pace. I get out there, mile 40, my legs feel completely heavier than the 50 miles on a elevation course. I wasn't understanding it. But something in my head told me that you're okay. It's not going to get worse. As long as you're running now, you can continue to run. And I credit that to the Holy Spirit to this day. I don't have any reason to know anything about what now I know is the steady state. And a lot of us ultra runners may know your legs become compromised. They're sore, but it's not going to get worse for a really long time. So you just have to kind of lock into that, accept it. It's going to happen to your feet as well. It's going to happen throughout the race. Something's going to come up and you're just going to have to settle into them. And as long as your stomach issues, whatever you got going on. And so I settled into it, and mile 41, we get it through. So we're through there, through the gap, get into the night, and take about a 30-minute nap. And I had plenty of time banked, and got through the night just asking for one more, just all night long, relying on my angels, and got 104 miles done in 24 hours. I was the first place male overall, but that was my first experience with the 100-mile distance. And there's something that people don't talk about a lot, post-race depression. You get a huge high on completing big accomplishments, especially ones that seemed far out of reach, and then you accomplish them. And then your mind then understands that you have to find this thing again. And how hard is that going to be to revamp this, to one up yourself, essentially, is where your mind starts to go. And it kind of can put you into a post-race depression, like, oh my gosh, I don't want to have to go through that again. How do I continue to stay on top? Can I do it again? Is this a falsity? Like, did I just get lucky? All these things, especially early, if you're an early ultra runner and you're doubting yourself or not thinking that you can do more, just be happy with what you've done. Be grateful in the moment is the best way to work through this, and slowly work your way back into running again. Make sure your blocks are good. But working through that post-race depression was something I didn't even know it existed. You think you're just going to ride this high after running 100 miles. And then next thing you know, I'm like hating myself that I have to do it again. again. And I'm like, why am I feeling these feelings? And they go away in a week or two. You know, your legs come back and your mind comes back. And then you have a new goal that's just as scary, if not scarier. And that drives you, like David Miller's quote, right? You chase the thing and you're ready to prove it again. So that was a 100-mile distance. And since then, I think I have 14 total ultra marathons. I took third at Mid-State Mile this last year in my third time there. I had never done that well there. I think 17th the first year and then a terrible year the next year. And that was because I was still drinking. I actually got blackout drunk the week before the Mid-State Mile in 2024. Which then brings us to August 2024 when I decide I'm going to stop drinking for 60 days to just see the effects. I wanted to know if quitting drinking could elevate my physical fitness. So in August, I'm like, I'm going to try this out. I'm going to stop drinking. I didn't think I had a huge problem, but I was drinking a couple beers most days of the week. And on my podcast that I do, a little cornhole podcast, but we were drinking 2 or 3 beers before and then having a whiskey or two during the podcast, you know, on the weekends, having the 6-pack plus. I was drinking quite a bit. Quite a bit. Seems like in the moment though, you're like, oh, well, that guy drinks more than me. So like, I'm not doing that bad. And that's kind of, you try to justify your own actions and your own alcohol abuse by finding people that are doing more than you're doing. And you're like, well, I'm not that bad. I'm just drinking. Maybe I'm not doing drugs. Trust me, if you're still drinking, and especially if you're chronically drinking, Andrew Huberman talks about this on a podcast that I think saved my life. If you're consistent with how you're drinking, you're a chronic drinker, and you need to be able to identify that and accept it, because the habit, the bad habit, it can manipulate you into believing that it's not as bad as you think it is. Anyways, I start just my sobriety journey just for funsies, 60 days. You know, people are like, oh, that's crazy. You know, 60 days is crazy. And it was so hard to find a window to do this too, right? You're trying to find the window. Well, I've got a birthday party. There's no way I can't drink for that. I've got a cornhole tournament. There's no way I'm not going to drink for that. So that was always navigating things, but it was August 25th. My birthday is October 26th. So I'm like, okay, this is a good space. Then I can drink on my birthday and we'll be okay. And I get 30 days in and something overcame me. I hated alcohol. I hated it. 30 days in, I felt so good. My mind was so clear that my mind developed a hatred for it. I was like, I don't need this thing anymore. This thing has determined too many things in my life. I forgot to mention in 2018 in the Army, I got a DUI. Things like that had happened. I'd lost friends. I'd been in fights. I'd been blackout drunk multiple times. But 30 days in, I understood that this was no longer going to be a part of my life. No matter how hard the day could be to get through, I knew that I'd gotten through 30 days and that the next day is not going to be any harder than the day before. And this is something I tell people when they ask, like, what's your advice for somebody getting sober? And I tell them, if you did it yesterday, you can do it today. And if you did it today, you can do it tomorrow. And that's like looking back, like looking to the past, to yesterday, gives you confidence in yourself, knowing that you did it. And that makes sure the current situation is something you can get through. And then knowing you can do it tomorrow gives you hope for yourself. So I like being able to have the past, the present, and the future, and looking at all three of those things through it. And understanding that it's just one day. And just like with looped courses, and I think this is why I like loop courses so much, is because it's just one loop or it's just 1 mile. And I tell people the same thing. If you did the last loop, you could do the next loop, you know, and it correlates very similarly to sobriety and running and your faith, right? If you read the Bible yesterday, you can read the Bible today. You know, if you prayed yesterday, you can pray today and you can do it tomorrow. And it's such a good mantra to have. And it really correlates just to life in general. Is life, it seems huge, and being a Christian, it doesn't seem as big because I know that I have eternal life, but it's hard to wrap your mind around that. Having faith is hard. So if you don't have that or you're struggling, just knowing you can get through the minute you're in, being grateful for it, knowing that the next minute could be better than the last one, and it depends on you. Your mindset is what gets to carry you through the next moment. I was just talking about Mid-State Mile. So the third year, this last year in June, I took third place. I'm very grateful out there, 85 miles. It was an incredible experience out there just to take third in a race that had kind of beat me up for a really long time. My girlfriend crewed me and she was absolutely incredible. And at that point, I was almost a year sober as well. And I just knew that this thing had really changed my life. And that thing was getting sober. That thing was finding the faith. That thing was being intentional with my fitness. And it's never just one thing, because just like our bad habits compile and usually lead to a really bad outcome, our good habits can work in the opposite direction. And people that just starting out fitness, when they start with fitness, they end up now changing their diet and having a better diet, or they get into the faith, and it's like your good wins start to stack, and then you see these blessings come through your life. And I think that mid state in June was something that really showed me that we were on the right course, that we were working through our purpose, and we were choosing the right suffering. And no matter what the haters said, that the running was dumb or you're hurting your body or this and that, I knew internally that we were doing the right thing. And so since then, I've just been really grateful for my life in general. Like I said, I just finished that 100 miler, and that was a new test as well. Took fourth overall there, ran 21 hours, 42 minutes. Felt like it was a pretty good time. And now we have Cocodona on the horizon, the monster itself, and we're excited for it. Just continuing to stack wins and hoping to have a good build up. So that's my story.
Yes. Wow. Thank you so much for sharing that. When you were talking about your early years, as a 9-year-old, I have twins that are 10, describing, just trying to get to school, like that is heartbreaking. Because I think as a child, you just want to feel loved. And if you have someone that is inebriated to that level, it's hard. It's hard to feel loved, right? You just need shelter and food and water and to get to school, and like your basic needs were not met as a child, right? And that's heartbreaking. It's heartbreaking to hear. To see you now on this other side is beautiful. It makes me teary thinking about what you've gone through, but to know you now, like that's really cool. It's really a really respectable arc that you've had, you know?
Yeah, thank you. And it really drives me knowing, I think about this sometimes and it makes me emotional, but that me now could have saved my mom. And so that drives me to stay sober, because if somebody like me was available, could have been a different outcome.
Yeah. Yeah, that one's tough, man. But I guess my advice, if you wanted some, would be to let that fuel you, Let that fuel you to keep going. But yeah, that's a hard one to say, but I would use that as fuel,
Yeah, I
you know?
do. I do. As much as it makes me it's a good emotional because it drives a healthy thing. It doesn't make me want to do something bad. It makes me want to do something good, because I know that there could be somebody that hears my story that then comes away from whatever they're dealing with. And it doesn't have to be as severe as my mother's drug and alcohol addiction, but it could be just something that is pitting them that down the wrong road. Like I said, if somebody would have maybe told my mother a story like the one I have now, maybe she would have understood and pulled it around. And I hope, and that's why it's a blessing for you to invite me on this podcast. I have a couple done. I have a couple more scheduled. And like, that's what we do it for. That's what makes you podcast hosts so pivotal to this world. Amazing, is because people need these stories. I need the stories I've heard. Like I said, Goggins' books, all the Chad Wright, like the people that have influenced me is because they shared their story. And a message that I always want to get across is don't be afraid to share your story. Your story is just as impactful to somebody else as my story is impactful to people who may have lost their biological mother. Everybody's story can affect somebody else. And I also think there's therapy in it. That I, for 28 years, didn't tell these stories. Besides with really close people or people that already had known, I didn't want it to be known. And now I'm the exact opposite. Like, I think the Lord has put it on my heart to spread his message through my lived experiences and my fitness and my sobriety. These things together, plus the story, is what's impactful, and everybody has different things that drive them, but your story is what shaped you and can help others.
Yeah.
Important.
Yeah, yeah, it's like that invisible threads of humanity, like it connects us through that. I have some follow-up questions for you. So, that first year, is your sober date August 25th?
It is, yes.
That's my birthday.
Oh my gosh, how incredible. Wow. That's
Yes,
funny.
I know. Are you about to have 2 years or 1 year?
I'm at a year and a half flat.
Oh, so your first year, kind of describe that to us. I think a lot of people fall off the wagon the first year. Did you join a community? What helped keep you accountable, or like what habits made it stick for you?
Yeah, like I said, the one I talked about, making it digestible, is one of them. And I think in the first year, can get pretty easy after you get past the first 90 days, because then you're really chasing that 365, right? You're really chasing that 1 year. But in there, there were times, I don't know if I'd call them urges, but it's like, this may have been more fun to experience having some drinks, right? Maybe it's a concert, maybe it's a baseball game. It's things that you used to go to and socially drink, not get out of control, but like the few drinks maybe made you feel more vibrant. And getting through that is just knowing that you're getting stronger every time you say no, is that you're building the thing in your mind that can make you a mentally tougher person. And when hardship hits, it's going to be easier to get through. Real unchosen suffering hits. Like, so just getting through the tough stuff. And it's like when you choose not to eat a candy bar or have the soda, like, and this goes with anything, but every time you do that, you say no to the bad thing, you get stronger, and the saying no gets easier. So that's super advice I would give, is know that you're stronger every time you say no, like a loading bar. Like if it's at 1%, every time you say no, it goes up another percent. But then I would tell people that when you hit 1 year, it does make the rabbit harder to chase, because it's like, what's the next goal? Like 2 years? Everybody cares about 1 year. 1 year's huge, right? People that drink can't even understand going 1 year without drinking. So, and neither could myself. You think, 1 month is like, okay, that's doable. 6 months, like, that's doable. 9 months, I've deployed for that long. So I've done that before. But 1 year, it's like, well, it's kind of wild. And then after that, once you hit that, you have to find the next thing, and that's where you pretty much revert back to day one. And hey, I can get through today. It doesn't matter how many days I've done it. And that's where, like, I actually missed my year and a half almost the other day, because like, I'm no longer counting anything. Like, it doesn't matter. It used to be like every 25th, I knew that it was another month, another month, another month. And now the days kind of just run together, because it's not even something that crosses my mind. So I guess that's what I would say for the 1 year. Also, sharing it. I know not everybody's a social media person. Mine is I'm out there. I like to share. So a big thing that helped me were people reaching out. Hey, what you're doing is amazing. Hey, when I was 6 months sober, somebody would tell me they were 2 months sober. And they're like, because of you. Or they would share a story, or like, hey, how do I get through this craving? Like, those things have driven me immensely. And same with the running and the faith, right? I get messages for all three of these things, but the sobriety specifically, people telling me they got sober because of me, like, warms my heart to another level. And it's where that saying no gets so much easier, because if you were to give in, everybody that's come to you for inspiration, it seems like you failed them. And I don't want to fail any of those people, let alone myself. But these people that say they are inspired by me are an inspiration to me. They help make me accountable, hold me accountable. And I turn to them also when I was having, a sobriety issue. I would tell them, like, hey, I had a craving today. I got through it. And that just doing that was as much for me as it was for them. That, hey, I feel like you're a safe space. I want you to know that I'm also a safe space. So that's really important, is having people you can be honest with about it.
Yeah. I love what you're talking about. You're talking about first the building of the sober muscle, right? And I think of it like every time you say no, you're like leveling up in a video game, right? Like you
Yep.
hit the little mushroom and it comes out and you eat it and you get points. That is super important. And then the second part you were talking about is the accountability of it all. And if you're not a social media person, this doesn't have to be that. It can be, going to a group, joining community, having a friend, just someone else who is sober, an accountability partner. I love that advice that you gave. That's super helpful.
Yeah. I mean, also self-respect, right? I'm huge on that. And especially being someone of the faith, like, what I tell myself is also what I tell God. If you speak to yourself, you speak to God, because I am a flesh of God. But hold the self-respect. And it's the same with running. I don't know, Megan, how many times you said, I'm going to go on an 8-mile run. and you get to 4 and you're like, maybe I'll just do 6. But every time you actually do the 8, right, it's so much better than stopping at 6, you know? It's
Mhm.
like not giving in to the hard thing.
Yeah. I love that reference, that metaphor. I'm the girl that's like, you know what? Instead of 8, I'm going to do 10. I swing it
Right.
the other way.
That's amazing.
It can be a problem too, but that's what got me into my alcohol addiction problem, taking it too far. But we've harnessed it for good now, right? Just like you
Bingo.
talked about.
Yes.
I have a few more questions before the lightning round. This one's a little heavy, but who were you before sobriety and who are you now?
Before sobriety, I think I was narcissistic. I think that I was very Dylan first is what I'd like to call it. How does this thing help me? And I think that's and ungrateful for what I had. I would say if I was to give 3 things, I had narcissistic traits where Dylan first. If you're gonna ask me for help, like what is this doing for me or how can I get something back? And then being ungrateful for things that I had, not understanding what you have. I think that before I was sober, I didn't understand before I found faith. And all these things kind of happened around the same time running, faith, fitness, like within a year and a half. Now, I am grateful to the max. And I tell people this all the time, especially when things get hard. I'm very grateful to be there because I chose it. And even if it's unchosen and it's maybe a death in a family, there's a lesson. There are things that you can be happy about, finding the silver lining. Things like that happened after sobriety. And then also, like, I'm almost now like Dylan last, you know, because what can I do for somebody else? And that's what we talked about with the stories and things like that. And when I first started ultra running too, I was drinking still, and I was a cutthroat competitor, we may call, right? Show up, don't talk to everybody. I'm better than everybody. Like not, and I don't actually think that I thought I was that, but I thought you had to have that mindset. And sometimes if you read too much Goggins, if you listen to too much Chad Wright, right? Like, and I love these guys, right? They're really good at it and they are able to harness that. I was not good at that. Like I did it, but it wasn't for me. And when I started to really bring people with me and just be encouraging and give out advice and smile and laugh at these races, that's when I became my best running self as well. And then that just transferred right over into life. It's like, okay, like you need help, like let's just get it done. Or even providing help before help is needed, you know, stuff like that. Volunteering in the race community, things that I would have never done before, I'm doing now because of the gratefulness works hand in hand with giving back. And I think that that's who I am now, is somebody who's grateful for every minute they're in. And it's a really special place to be. Every time you're able to pull yourself back into the gratefulness, you're grateful more and more often. And I think gratefulness is one of the most special things in this life, is to understand what you have and be thankful for it.
Yeah. I love what you're talking about. Like service work to me, service work is the cornerstone of recovery. If you're a person in recovery and you're struggling, go out and be of service. It'll reel you right back in. And then the gratitude filter. I love that. I have switched from a victimhood filter to a gratitude filter, and it has changed my life. But I have one more question before our lightning round. What does running give you that alcohol used to pretend to give you?
Happiness is one. I think that's probably the easy one. I find myself very happy while I'm running almost every single time, no matter the pace, no matter the hurt. What else? Friendship, real friendship, right? And because everybody knows once they get sober, you're going to lose a lot of people, some of the closest sometimes, you know, and that could even be your family. So I think running gives you a family in place of that. Sobriety also gives you a family. Running, what else did it give me? It gave me a place to work through my past. I didn't have that. And sobriety, right, when you drink, you think that, like, because you drink, you get really sad, usually, especially if you drink alone and you're remembering all these things that have happened to you and you're usually crying by yourself. And you know, you're kind of in like you said, a victimhood mentality at that moment. Why me? Why did this happen to me? And, you know, just keep drinking. And now when I run, I'm able to take those things and go ask the same question. Why me? How do I avoid it in the future? And how do I deal with it right now? What's the lesson to be learned? That's where, when I was talking about running earlier, running away from things, and then I started to run into it. The farther I ran, the more I was able to get really deep into my mind and almost like rake out the stuff that was hidden in there and pull it to the forefront, which was really emotional and really hard. But I was able to dissect it and really understand where the lessons were and how to move forward in a healthy manner rather than an unhealthy manner. And so the alcohol is always an unhealthy manner. It makes all of it worse. Hides the stuff deeper. The running brought it all forward for me. And when I train a lot, I run with headphones and like I'll listen to podcasts or music or whatever. But when I race, I never wear headphones. I just a 100 mile or no headphones. I want to be out there. I want to go find God. I want to go find my past self. I want to go talk to him a little bit. And I really enjoy that, and my long runs too. If I'm gonna run 15 or more, I'm probably not gonna wear headphones. Like, I wanna get into that thing. It's gonna be hard, and that's right where I wanna be, and it really puts me in these positions to cope with the things that I've needed to cope with for a long time. Even to this day, I'm the healthiest I've ever been mentally, but these things don't go away. They can resurface. When you think they're gone, they're not. So continue to work into that space for yourself and give yourself that therapy. But that's what running has done that drinking pretended to do.
Yeah, that was a great answer. Well, we have made it to the lightning round of our show. So these are just fun, get to know you questions because the listeners get invested in you after they hear your story. So the first question is, do you have any hidden talents?
Well, I play cornhole really well. So I own a professional cornhole bag company. This weekend we actually did a tournament here in town, like with 400 players. I broadcast it, I live stream it. I'm really good for the people that don't play. I'm not a professional, but if I put in the time and effort, I probably could be a professional. So that's one. I can do backflips. So I'm trying to do like one on flat ground. Like I can do it right now off of like a 6-inch platform, but it's like a goal this year for 2026. I'm going to try to be able to just flat ground backflip. I think at 31, it's pretty rare. Like if you're not a gymnast, so
Yeah.
like it's just one of my, I have a list of like goals. Most of them are like serious, and then it's like do a backflip
Yeah.
and it's like on flat ground. So
That's a cool flex to just like backflip out. Like people are just talking and you just randomly backflip out of the
yeah,
conversation.
yeah, that'd be fun.
Number two, what is a song that instantly puts you in a good mood?
Huh. Good question. White House Road by Tyler Childers.
Love that song.
Yeah, so as much as he's talking about, like, drinking and doing cocaine, which is, like it fuels me because 'cause I'm not doing it, but then he's also like, "I'm gonna run these roads," like, so that always
Mhm.
gets me really it's like a great running song.
Yeah.
So that song always gets me going, and also, like, Charleston Girl, my girlfriend was living in Charleston, West Virginia when we started talking. She lives here with me now, so, like, that one always makes me happy as well.
Yeah. He's a sober brother now, too.
Exactly, yeah,
I like him a lot, too. Number three, what is the last concert you've been to?
Chris Stapleton, the first night, Tyler Childers the second night, and then my girlfriend's friend, she went to high school with Cole Chaney, he also, like, sang there, he's really good. Yeah, that was the last concert I went to, though, and that's, like, such a cool event because it's about healing and recovery, and a lot of the proceeds go to local Appalachia foundations for recovery centers and stuff like that, so really cool event. It was a good time, we camped out there, which camping festival events are really fun, really different, like, when you're sober, which is cool, and, like, people are always like, "Wow, dude, I can't believe you're not drinking," and, like, that's always a compliment, as much as, like, to them, it's a little bit backhanded, it's like, "You're not normal," and it's like, "I don't wanna be, so thank you." That's another thing, just being abnormal is so much fun and, in niche spaces,
Mhm.
cornhole, professional cornhole to ultra running to being sober, like, all these things they're different, and I like to be different. If I'm normal, I feel like I'm doing the wrong thing.
Mhm. Yeah.
Normal seems wrong nowadays.
Yeah. We're not following the herd. We're countercultural.
Right, but I wanna bring more people into the counterculture, right? Like,
Mhm.
I think that that's a problem with the being abnormal or sober sometimes, like, there's gatekeepers, you know what I
Mhm.
mean? Sometimes there could be maybe not in sobriety, but in, like, ultra running or something like that, or, like, "I'm different." They're like,
Mhm.
"Well, I don't want everybody to be different." It's like, I want everybody to be this healthy version that, like, I'm going for. This is a better place for the whole humanity.
Mhm.
Is it possible? Probably not, but, the more people, the better.
Yeah, absolutely. Number four, what would be your last meal?
Uh, Probably, like, a 20-ounce ribeye and a sweet potato with the cinnamon butter and grilled Brussels sprouts.
Okay. healthy,
Yeah.
but, like, manly dinner.
Oh, steak just is so good. Like, I can't think of something, like, better than steak, you know?
Mhm.
I don't know, carnitas tacos could be number 2. Carnitas, like, street tacos,
Yeah.
legit.
You just have both, you know?
There we go.
Last question, a little bit heavy, but to close out the episode, what type of legacy do you hope to leave behind?
I'd like to say, why not us? And I've talked about this before. I think that sometimes people get caught up in like living their normal lifestyle that they can't be something special. Being normal, you can still be incredible, right? Having a regular job, I think some people think it's unattainable to be great if you're not like this sponsored elite athlete or you don't have a huge social media following or something like that. And that's just not true. So the legacy that I want to leave behind is that I'm a strong Christian man that is driven by faith, fitness, and sobriety to help others along their journeys while living what we would call a normal lifestyle. It's not unattainable. I want to be a pillar for that, you know, that also you can go through some of the hardest things in your life at the age of, you know, 8, 9, 10 years old, and you can bounce back. You can drink for, 14 years and you can stop. Know that you can not be a part of the faith for 20 plus years and then you can get into it. You know that it's not over. And some people count themselves out too early. People might say, you know, I'm 50, there's no way I can get into running. And then you have your friend Rick Lee, 65, running sub 5. It's like, it's just not true. You know, believe in yourself. I want you to believe in yourself. I want you to be incredible, whatever that looks like. Like, if you want to be the best, you know, crochetist, like, go do that thing. You know, go, if you want to be the best pickleball person in your community, like, go out there and do that. Put the time and effort into it. Like, I'm here for it. It doesn't have to be 100 miles. It doesn't have to be something that everybody oohs and ahs at, but I want you to find your purpose, you know? And so if my legacy was anything, I just want to be a pillar of purpose. You know, I think purpose is so important and I hope everybody finds theirs. Finding your purpose is the key. It is really the key to happiness.
Yeah. I love, love, love what you said. Absolutely. You're the lighthouse for finding your purpose.
If we were to take a poll and you just asked 100 people, do you know your purpose? It would probably be 95% say no. I don't think many people know that because I don't think they try to know. They don't even chase it, you know? And they just like, oh, well, what do you mean? I wake up, I go to work, and then I have to take care of my kids. And then maybe I fit in my gym session and then I go to bed and then I do it again. Like, where do you want me to find a purpose? It's like, it's in there. You know what I
Mhm.
mean? But
Mhm.
you have to put in the time. What do you love? You know what I mean? What legacy do you want to leave behind? And do you want people to remember you for being the person that worked their life away and was normal, or do you want to be somebody that other people got influence from and you saved lives? Maybe you don't even know. Your podcast, Megan, or somebody else's, like, they could save lives that you don't even know about. Stories, people's lives are being saved by examples that are good. So be the good example, find your purpose, attack it.
Yeah, I love what you said. I can't thank you enough for coming on. You have really inspired me. Your story is truly incredible. Where can people find you if they want to follow you, kind of watch your Cocodona experience? Where can they find you?
Yeah, most of my stuff is just on Instagram. It's Dylan underscore abnormal. So it makes sense. On Facebook, I'm Dylan R. Led. My last name's Ledbetter, but it's just Dylan R. Led. So I have a lot of stuff on there too. Ask questions. I want people to feel welcomed when they come into my DMs, although it's just a blank screen. Like, I want it to light up with, like you're saying, that lighthouse, and they feel comfortable and they're in a safe place to ask questions and share their story with me. And maybe they've never shared their story before. I'll listen. We're here to help each other. Like, we're put on this earth to help each other. That's my
Mhm.
opinion. And so don't be afraid to reach out.
Love that so much. It brings us back to the service work of it all, you know? Well, I can't thank you enough for coming on. I will see you in Cocodona in 9 weeks.
Yes, roughly 9 weeks.
Yeah, I'm
Yeah.
excited for you. It's going to be so much fun.
Yeah. Thank you for having me on, Megan. Thank you, the Reckless
Absolutely.
Optimist podcast, all the listeners. Thank you guys for listening. I just appreciate you guys, and I hope you have an amazing life.
Thank you. All right. Bye, hon.